Okay, cool. All right, guys, we're going to go over some of these reproductive models today. We'll start with the male model here, if you can't already tell. This is the scrotum out here. Okay. Now, the scrotum helps encase the testes, which is all of this. Okay. Now, the testes is actually going to be surrounded by an epididymis, which is this sort of structure out here. And if you look closely, you can see that this structure has more circles, which are tubes in cross-section. So this is the epididymis over here, whereas this is the structure of the testes itself, a little bit more anterior. So this is the epididymis, that's the testes. Now, the testes leads into something called the spermatic cord. Glad you brought this over because I need that. So here's a testes on this model. This is spermatic cord. It's going to carry sperm away from the epididymis, up the spermatic cord, through, this is called Vas Deferens, you guys. So spermatic cord actually would surround all that at the same time. It's just going to carry sperm up through Vas Deferens, into the peritoneal cavity, back behind the bladder, where it meets up with this gland here called the seminal vesicle. We'll come back to that. Now, one thing I wanted to show you guys in this model, and I don't know if we talked about this in Bio 201, there's something called the pelvic diaphragm, which is basically like your pelvic floor muscles. And you can kind of see some of those muscles in this particular area. The pelvic diaphragm, you can also see some more on this model as these muscles down here, but they're basically muscles of your pelvic floor that help support organs within the pelvic cavity. So you'll contract these like when you cough, but they're also involved in things like ejaculation. So this muscle here is called bulbospongiosis, and this will contract during ejaculation. Now, some other structures on here, you guys. We're going to have Vas deferens, like we talked about. So Vas deferens here. Vas deferens is going to be paired with testicular vein and artery, all in a bundle called spermatic cord. So spermatic cord, we make sure you kind of bundle it all together there. Now, for the different glands we can see on these models, gotta go back to this one. So we saw back here in the posterior part of the bladder, this was the seminal vesicle, or seminal gland. That produces the majority of semen. Now, there's another gland just inferior to the bladder called the prostate. So you see on this model too. So here's the bladder on this model. There's the prostate just inferior to the bladder. In this model, you can see it there. And they're really identical. Actually, this is the opposing half of that. I take that back. So, yeah, same thing. But the prostate's going to produce secretions as well. One more gland we can see kind of in this area, just surrounding the urethra right here. Well, the bulbourethral gland, okay? And that also produces a little bit of the volume of semen. Now, we can see is this long tube starting from the bladder, going out along through the prostate, through the urogenital diaphragm, out along the penis, that's the urethra. And as the urethra goes through these different regions, it changes names. So the urethra through the prostate is called the prostatic urethra. That makes sense. The urethra over by the urogenital diaphragm, right there, is called the membranous urethra. And then the urethra throughout the penis is called the penile urethra, or spongy urethra. And the reason why it's called that is that it's encased in a erectile tissue, which is all this in red, called Corpus Spongiosum. In fact, the paint's kind of chipping off because people have been rubbing this so much, right? So you look closely, you guys can see that the paint's starting to kind of rub away. Somebody's been rubbing this Corpus Spongiosum a little too much. It wasn't me. So it's Corpus Spongiosum. Surrounds the urethra. Yeah. And then I can show you guys some other structures here with the chenille stick. Thank you. So this one here, you guys, is called corpus cavernosum, and that's going to be another erectile tissue that contributes to the majority of the erection. Okay. All of this in red is corpus spongiosum, which has the spongy or penile urethra within it, and then this kind of purplish-looking structure up here is corpus cavernosum. Now, that's all. You can stop that.